Hello once again, Unconditional Surrender. We've reached part 8 and we've also reached the June of 44 turn. Start with a confession. I was talking last time about the possible collapse of Russia because their national bill was in sort of single digits. And if they could just keep, or if the Germans could keep taking out the odd field unit and maybe 1 or 2 more cities, that would knock the wheel down to 0. So I thought I'd better read some rules on that and try and prepare, see what happens. And I just read the bit on the collapse of Russia, and it said if it happens, put the truce marker sort of 6 months beyond when the event happened, or there was a second potential timing, and the third point said for any other eventuality put the marker on the December 43 turn. And I thought, oh, what's going to happen if they just survive into 44 and sort of collapse in Jan 44? Do you just ignore the truce in that case? You know what happens. And I think I was sort of mixing up 2 sets of rules, because there was in the original rules I seem to recall that collapse could happen at pretty much any time, and there was this sort of gamey thing going on where people would get Russia really close to collapsing and then might sort of surround a particular city but not quite capture it, to try and delay the collapse of Russia, and then decide, well, now's the optimum time to take that last city and trigger the collapse. So I think what they've done is, now having read latest living rules, the collapse can't happen once you get into 43. So it's got to happen really in the first, I suppose, in the historical time frame, by the end of 42, which I suppose makes a bit of sense. You know, they'd had their Russian industry had been gearing up, probably getting into full production mode by 43, so they're not going to roll over quite so easily as they may do if they're being hurt very badly and very rapidly in the first sort of 18 months of the war. So that of course means that in this game Russia will not be collapsing. So the Germans have got to hang on and just trade time for space. They've still got a pretty well advanced front line. The Russians managed to destroy a panzer army last turn, and the strategic warfare is definitely against the Germans. I think the Germans have got something like six lost factories now. So the bombing is having an effect on Germany. There's a third German air unit in the west. The ME-262 technology is just triggered, so that will happen once a turn. But definitely on the back foot. But in the west, where the Allies successfully landed in 43, they've spent 43 building up. They've got about 6 or 7 land units now in France, plenty of land-based air. Didn't really have any success attacking over the winter of 43, just the poor weather, only being able to do the odd assault. Really has stabilised the front line just west of Paris, and the game now ends, if you're playing the full campaign game, that ends in I think May of 45, which is a guaranteed good weather turn. But really you've got to do all the hard lifting now in the summer of 44. We've just got good weather for June, it was bad in May, so we're going to get 4 turns of good weather. on the map where it matters. Can they do enough? So that'll be quite exciting. Not much else to say. Yeah, it's still a great game. I don't know whether, I think it's on the P500 for another edition, which would be good for those that don't really fancy printing out all the living rules, because there was quite a few tweaks and changes and stuff, but I think the game is definitely worth the effort. So, quick look at the map. As mentioned, in France, you can see there's now 4 American armies. These are all mechanised armies. That actually should, I forgot to upgrade that to the 8th Army, which I'll do before the turn kicks off. So there'll be 3 British mechanised armies, and there's another American mechanised army there next to Calais. You'll see there's plenty of aircraft doing supporting missions. They've kind of forced the German aircraft away from the front line. There's more air based in the UK. Because all this stuff here has to be supplied via convoys, so every unit will use a convoy sortie. So there is a price to pay for having this stuff based in France, but that's where it just needs to be. The strategic bomber fleet is now 3. I think it's the 15th and the 8th Air Force, along with Bomber Command. And Fallschirmjäger Army will be manning the West Wall, and home-based aircraft trying to hold off the Allied bombers. And in Russia, you can see for the summer 44, it's a good place to be for the Germans. They've done well. I suspect this will move west quite rapidly. It'll only take 1 or 2 units to be knocked out, and the Russian production is over 40 now, I think, compared to the Germans, which is about 28 or 30. Of course, that's shared between both fronts. So the front line there is as you see. There's obviously a threat across the Dnieper. Russians might be moving an air fleet down here to support that, but all to play for.